Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIII. So yeah, let's continue.
You know, what Ditch reminded me of what I said really does come back to a big point here. Well, like I said during Last of Us Part 2 and during our original commentary of 13, when the story is not going on, there's nothing really interesting to talk about because the gameplay is so bog standard. But, that being said, even with the story in mind though, having seen the story all the way throughout now and, reliving it now, this story really drags. I mean, I probably said it before, but now I really do get that this story drags. Let's keep in mind, technically, we more or less have all of our party members save for one. What we have is just an elongated segment of them about to meet each other because they're obviously going to run into each other.
Yeah, this is actually one of the big plot-heavy parts. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this part, everybody. So
we're still missing one person, but it will not take long for this character to show up.
Well, that's what he said too. So.
Sorry.
Pretty much, though, what I'm getting at is that the pacing is.
Hold on, and speaking of cutscenes.
Oh no! Please tell me it's.
All right, let's get your cider ready.
Ah, shit.
Time to go. We have to leave before the army. What?
That's a Pulse brand. That girl's a LaCie.
No shit, we've already told you that.
I already told you that.
Okay, to be fair, this is the first.
Oh!
To be fair,
take a shot.
So they should die.
Okay, so to be fair, this is the first time we've ever seen a Pulse brand tattoo, essentially. So, fair beans on them explaining what that is. That's what she said.
No, that's what.
Please no, Drova.
So yes, this is Serah, played by Laura Bailey.
Yes, make
Snow's fiance.
Make whatever jokes you want.
What, you mean about the fact that Sarah's going to beat Snow to death with a golf club?
If that helps you, sure.
Let's get you out of here.
Hands off.
By the way, there's gonna be a question by one of the characters that I want to point out because in hindsight, that question makes no fucking sense for that.
Wait. This is Snow's fault? This is Snow's fault? Lightning, you dick and liar.
Well, I'll let you know it isn't. I'll let you know it isn't, to be fair.
Considering the flashback we will see later, yeah, it's kinda still his fault.
Yeah! Oh, okay.
The fact that she's a LaCie, no. But the fact that she's here, yes.
Let me put it like this. It's mainly his fault only because Lightning made the issue worse in the first place, so...
No, that is true, too. That actually is a good point, actually. As we're gonna see later.
This should have been in the middle of the game.
Let me put it like this. I think Raptunes pretty much summed up the scene well. Even though clearly you weren't the one who made Serah LaCie, I still blame you for everything. Because...
Also... Sorry,
Hey, Jova, gotta blame somebody, otherwise it's my fault.
And let's be honest, when we figure out more about this is more Lightning's fault than Snow's fault.
And regardless, Serah literally almost get fridged, in this case crystallized, for at least half of your party members.
Hold on, they're gonna explain now.
We'll scream for like 2 minutes.
Hold on, you'll see.
Okay, you'll see.
That's the most I've seen Lightning emote.
I know, right?
Transformed into crystal and gain eternal life.
Crystal.
That doesn't sound like much of a benefit.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, Glibs. When a fal'Cie brands you, you either do what he wants and turn into crystal, or you don't do it and you turn into a zombie. That's your choice.
Also, Rogues, no, this person is deceased.
She's alive.
I'll just spit here.
Legend. Remember the legend.
What legend?
See who fulfilled their focus, turned to crystal.
We literally just heard this from home.
We just said
eternal life.
I don't even.
I'm sure the data log will tell us.
I don't even know why I'm here.
Okay. I need everyone to apologize to Kingdom Hearts.
And this basically running out.
Trust me, Dej. Wait until more before we say that, because trust me, it gets worse.
Okay. So back to that point I mentioned in the last part about this being a deconstruction of Final Fantasy plots here. Snow dares to believe in a legend, something that is typical of Final Fantasy games because oftentimes there is a legend that, our heroes are meant to fulfill. Here, though, again, it's about how dare you have hope? It's just a fantasy. Wake up and get to reality.
But they already have. But they have hope in their team.
Let me put it this way, Teo. It's the fault of everybody, but Lightning also did everything in her power on that cutscene we're gonna see eventually when we get to the Great White Hood, that she made things so harder that than they needed to be. So yeah, I can understand Jova's frustration, to be honest with you, because Lightning just didn't even try to help.
Like I said.
Okay, I don't know what specifically you're referring to, but I'm talking at least on a physical level. It's Snow's fault they physically went close to this thing,
And again, like I mentioned, that's only mainly a result of Lightning making things tougher.
Oh, sure, but they could have literally gone anywhere else.
I'm talking about one of the 13 days flashbacks too.
Yeah, that same,
okay,
but whatever, willing to get there anyway.
We can go into there more later. However, one of the themes we just heard during that cutscene is actually one of my favorite tunes from this game here. A certain boss theme, but we'll discuss
doesn't really
more
have a
about that
place here, considering how specific it is.
Don't care for the boss themes in this game, to be honest with you. I find them unremarkable.
You did mention about the soundtrack as a whole, so that is, inherent. No.
Well, yeah. I want to mention something as well. Notice how Vanille was the one who asked the question, why is she turning to Crystal? For reasons that I cannot say already because of spoilers for Dibs and Edge, it makes no sense for her to ask that question, because she should know. She should know that.
But Pedro, you were asking earlier there should be more proxies for the audience to explain this stuff for those.
But it's not as simple as just doing it. You also have to do it well.
Dibs, as somebody who's seen this story before, trust me, it's a case where, now it seems like a good idea, but later, again, like with Lightning, the story is later gonna contradict that and make a mess out of things.
Are you out of your mind, kid? That thing wants to chew us up and spit us out. Well,
what else are we supposed to do? In fact, Saz, given the reason that you're here, shouldn't you want to go after the
game is trying to keep his reason for being here still a mystery at this point, Jova.
Again though, Pedro, similar to the contradictions with Vanille, though, how Saz's acting in this scene kind of contradicts his reasons for being here that we learn about later. So,
and Lightning decides, screw this, I'm gonna end it.
That is a good point. We'll let her find out why exactly he's with Lightning to begin with, and he does have a reason for coming here, and he did go out of his way to come here. It's just that, so there is that contradiction as well. Okay, I'm going to explain more in detail later, but let's just say, everybody, this game's development was a mess, and a lot of this, and that's why the story feels like it was made up as they went along. But I'll get into details later.
Without knowing that yet, here's my diagnosis on this game's MO. Essentially, act like it's a big mystery, supposedly leave clues that ultimately go nowhere, and then bring up a twist that completely contradicts how the story's been going for without being clever about it whatsoever. So that they can go, weren't you so surprised?
Again, I'll explain more the details about that later on.
Also, here's another stupid thing. Communicating with a fal'Cie is incredibly tough.
Hold on, Joe. We'll get to it. We're going to get that revelation later in this part anyway, so hold off on that.
I'll be your LaCie instead!
Interesting deal. Or I could just make both of them.
Well, they're doing that thing where, if you want to kill somebody, kill me instead, or something like that, basically.
Oh, I get that, but given how fal'Cie act, what's stopping the fal'Cie from just making both of them its LaCie?
Snow's desperate, basically.
Fair enough, and you know what?
Also, I think the sub said a typo when she said its people are dying.
So, Dibs and Edge, we've been talking about these fal'Cie for over 90 minutes at this point, so you're probably wondering, what the hell are those things even? Well, you're about to see one.
Are they like precursors from Jak and Daxter?
No.
More like precursor robots.
Is it a brand of ice cream?
Let me put it this way. Look at that thing, and I'm not even kidding you. To this day, I still have no idea what the hell they were thinking when they designed this. Look at that.
What's the main designer for this game?
It's the same.
I can't even tell what the hell I'm looking at.
It's the same thought process of going for biblically accurate angels. Again, they wanted to emphasize this thing about gods as machines.
Remind me, Teo.
Something out of the human comprehension.
For the second webs, Teo, like we know no more the character designs. Who did the monster? Who did the monster / creature whatever designs? Okay.
I'm searching.
Sure. I was just trying to finish.
It's like asking Serah the same question over and over until he gets fed up for you. Like, I'm searching.
Oh, no, we're about to get foreshadowing.
Anyway.
We're about to get a bit of foreshadowing here.
Dodge.
Who's Dodge? We'll figure out later.
Fair enough, fine mystery. However, here's the
Dwibs!
thing, so...
Jova, tell Dwibs what he has won!
You've won a Final Fantasy XIII poster!
Okay.
I have won.
Okay.
To be fair, the promotional artwork does at least look...
Okay, guys, guess what?
Wait, this thing is supposed to be Anima, essentially based on the summon from Final Fantasy X.
And it looks nothing like Anima, but whatever. Okay, guys, believe it or not, as you see for Lightning's health bar there, this is a whole new high gameplay highlight point for this game, because for the first time ever in this game, I am now forced to actually heal myself in a battle. Wow.
Bosses in this game can range from easy to, oh my god, what the hell is going on, difficult.
There's also one of the big problems with the bosses, and I will get to this as we go along, especially when we get to a certain boss battle in later on, is how a lot of times the problem with these bosses that you don't have any flexibility in experiment and everything. You have to fight the boss the exact specific way that the game intends you to. Otherwise, the game will basically punish you for it or cast doom on you or something along those lines. Basically.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding, by the way. Teo can also vouch for what I say. I'm not kidding. If you manage to get yourself healed and take long time beating a boss battle, the boss will cast doom on you. The game literally punishes you for playing in any other way that's not the one that it intends for you. Go on.
So, yeah, about the fal'Cie, here's another confusing thing. So you thought that outer layer we saw was the fal'Cie, like it even has a face and everything, but it turns out, no, we're inside the fal'Cie containment module, I guess.
Well, let me put
had a face for some reason.
Let me put it this way. This thing is called a Vestige, aka his house, let's still call it that. And this thing that we're fighting, this is the proper fal'Cie itself. Teo, did you, in the meantime...
have a face.
In the meantime...
Checking.
So, okay. Well, while Teo checks that, aside from that, yeah, just keep whacking on him and keep yourself healed and you'll eventually beat him. It's not that hard. As long as you keep using... Fortunately, potions in this game heal your entire party all at once. So, it's as long as you keep an eye on your health, you should be fine.
The trade-off is that potions can be very hard to come by unless you're using, you know, a good modifier or grinding like hell.
Well, you can always buy them in the store, I guess. So.
That's the thing. The stores are so far and few between due to the nature.
Actually,
of the
we're
game.
connected to the save points, Jova. Oh no, this is important.
Welcome to the opening of Final Fantasy XIV.
Not really.
And Big Ben.
So we supposedly beat the fal'Cie, right? Well, here's where things get needlessly confusing. Guess it wouldn't be a Square game without at least one moment that does that.
Okay, let's see what happens.
Church bells ring as the fal'Cie dies, and then here it
That
is.
is proper form of Anima.
There you go.
A giant gold river thingy.
Now I know what you think. Now,
Oh no, tentacle! Oh no, tentacle porn! No!
Yeah, piss off.
I wasn't aware that I was. I'm actually wondering if there's some kind of hentai doujin that does this for Final Fantasy XIII. And now we'll go into Snow's Eye. See what's in there.
All right, don't blink, or it'll be some important stuff.
Yep.
All right, here it is. All right, did you get all that?
Did you catch all that? Go.
I think I got it. He has to.
And after that, Anima and entire Vestige crystallize and fucks literally whatever remained of the place. Not even
I
kidding.
think I got the snow one. He's supposed to activate an inflatable octopus.
So anyway, I guess Anima just died there. But yeah, seriously, look, his house literally has a face on it. That emotes. Why?
Because, Jova. Because.
So Anima just died.
And it crystallizes everything under it.
I mean, props to Square Enix's CG division.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be expected. Anyway,
And I was afraid.
Sorry.
When the future was clear, and it hurt to see.
Boy, is that really...
Start making sense, you stupid script. That doesn't mean anything.
Look, I know you're a Square Enix game, but you know, honestly, that's the thing about the 13 trilogy. It encompasses all the worst traits of Square's games.
Okay.
Rolls them up into this abomination of a
Alright, now we're gonna get into what they foreshadowed earlier. The game thinks that now is the best time to flash back into a few days before till we can watch a date between Serah and Snow.
Specifically during the period that they mentioned the 13 days on the 11th of the
seaside of Bodom.
Basically, the 13 days are the closest you're gonna get to seeing what the characters were like before everything
By the
went
way,
down.
you never actually physically visit this place. It's just used for these cutscenes.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Japanese media tends to like having an actiony thing at the start and then flashing back to a few days before.
Well, Teo, don't worry. We can reuse these assets for the sequel anyway.
Also, I wonder who's that client at the bro.
So here's the major issue I have with this game's story, essentially. So we see bits with characters here and there, and this shows what they're like here. The problem? Say for like maybe 3 of the characters, we don't get to see the proper transition that brought the characters to how they are like here and there. And when it comes to seeing what Lightning was like before everything happened, or hell, before she became a general, fat chance, despite the fact that the game really does want you to care about her.
I'll expand upon that later. For now, let's just...
Yeah. Alright, this is the one that contains that localization video that you mentioned.
Don't worry, I'll talk about it too.
Yeah.
She'll be so mad, knowing I hid it from her.
Gone?
No, the fact that she's a LaCie.
If you pay a bit of attention,
she
has covered part of her,
arm. So yeah. She's a pulse LaCie, that means she's an enemy of Cocoon.
The game didn't mention it. So
I know. Don't worry. It only counts when the game does it. Don't worry.
You just said that 5 minutes ago.
By the way, Dwibs, we're about to get to that point that Wonder Woman 1984 apparently took inspiration from.
What?
I know, right? No, hold on. I talk about this. Notice what Snow just said. It would be nice if the fal'Cie would just tell you what you're supposed to do. Yeah, keep that in mind for a few minutes later.
Was this game...
Jova, say psych right now.
You'll see.
Was this game ghostwritten by the same people who wrote Xenogears?
What?
Not really.
All the constant repeating of stuff we just heard.
No, Dwibs, look. Constant repeating is something you see in a lot of game scripts here.
Takahashi was way out of Square Enix at this point, Dwibs.
Also, it hasn't happened that frequently in the more recent parts anyway.
That too.
And even when it did happen, it was nowhere near as obnoxious as it was.
It's a really pet peeve of mine, especially when it happens really not too far from each other.
No.
Okay.
Sorry. These two stories are not even.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with this particular scene. The reason this scene doesn't work nearly as well.
We barely know these two.
We can't relate. We can't care about this.
Exactly, because
we barely know these two.
That's
Hold on, yes,
Pedro.
So yeah, the reason this doesn't work is because, like you guys have said, we barely know these two. We have no idea of how things were, and yeah, to expand upon what Jova was saying just before, one of the big problems with this game's storytelling is that let me use how about this? We were talking about Ni no Kuni 1 in the previous part here. I'll bring it up on. Like, notice how there's a reason why Ni no Kuni 1 starts with Oliver and his family and everything being happy. Why? To showcase what the usual life is for them, how they are in their happy state. These game, even in the 13-day segments, start when all the characters are already on an unhappy state. You know, the reason it's impossible to care is because usually when you have a plot that you need to start with the characters in their default state, as in when they're happy in their normal everyday life. That way, when their life goes to hell, you know, we can feel the gravity of the situation. In here, we cannot.
Wait, hold on. Here it comes. So, you remember how Wonder Woman 84 had a stupid scene where they flew in fireworks? Yeah, this game actually did it Vestige. They're literally flying in the middle of fireworks. I know what you're thinking. Maybe they're holograms or something. No, those fireworks are very still real and dangerous.
Snow is literally flying through a bombardment zone, but that's not all.
Pay
attention to the dialogue.
Struggling, by the way.
This game is what?
It really.
It's struggling.
Struggling.
Thank you. They nearly just died from a fire.
I'm sorry, Shira. I don't think I understand. Struggling. What do you mean exactly with struggling?
Very frequent frame rate issues.
Oh, that's because of the PC port, Shiro. Trust me, I'm trying my best to keep this thing together from falling apart with duct tape. But there's only so much I can do.
This is a CG cutscene, so it's not really affected by the mods.
Also, Shiro, the word you're looking for is stuttering.
It's funny though.
No, that is not the word I'm looking for.
So from what I understand, unlike a lot of other games that do it, basically they made different cutscenes using different lip sync depending on what language.
Yes, very good lips. Yes, every cutscene.
That is one credit I will give this game.
Every cutscene in this game has 2 different versions depending on English or Japanese audio.
So kudos there, I guess.
And that includes both in-game cutscenes and CG cutscenes.
So I guess you want to wait till the end of the part for the
okay.
dialogues.
No, I'm going to do it right now, Teo, actually. Okay, so now we're watching the Japanese version of the cutscene. Allow me to explain. Notice how just now, Snow is all like, all I need is you. All I need is you, or something along those lines, and that somehow makes Serah cry. That's because that's not what Snow is supposed to say. In fact, here's another demonstration of the On the original Japanese version, this is the song that plays. For whatever reason, the localization team thought that they would just use one of the vocal versions of the main theme instead. I personally don't mind the change because I actually prefer the way the Western version of the scene plays because
what is this being listening?
Yeah.
Not too different from what the scene between Tiruse and Yuna in the lake is with Suteki Dane. I guess it's really just a cultural thing where Japan prefers this particular type of tune for romantic
scenes. In defense of that cutscene, I cannot understand the decision on 10 because on 10 it was supposed to be the big romantic payoff of the entire thing. This, on the other hand, is just meant to be a stroll with the two. It's not meant to be like the super emotional scene, right?
Well, it still is because it's not just proposed and she accepted it. You know, it's not like a normal date.
Well, yeah, but it's not meant to be this big tear-jerking thing. But the point is, here's what Snow actually says in this part. He says, "Let's come and see them again next year," and meaning he's gonna stand by her, and he completely believes that they're gonna figure this out and not have her turn into either a zombie or crystal, and that's why she cries because she's touched by the fact that he's standing by her. For whatever reason, the localization team changed the writing of the scene, and as a result, Sarah's reaction of crying doesn't really make sense with the Western line. But whatever. This is just one brief little bit of the problems of the localization of this game that I will bring up eventually. All right. So
how comparable would you say? I mean, considering they both came out the same year, funnily enough.
Yeah.
In terms of like localization of a controversial story, how would you rank this alongside, say, how would you compare this to Other M?
What?
Well, other M
also has a lot of controversy regarding.
Well, other M destroys.
Is it really? Other M was just a bad story in general, from what I understand.
Well, I can understand Dibs' problem because other M did more than just be a bad story. It destroyed Samus's character, whereas this, at the very least, only destroys itself and not any of the previous games. So.
No, I get that, but Dwip seems to be suggesting that had something to do with the localization. Like, I just recall other M being a bad story.
There was a lot of controversy surrounding it.
Yeah, I know some people defended other M's plots, like, oh, it makes more sense in Japanese.
Alright.
On his review anyway.
Alright, so Dibs, get your side already.
I mean, did the fal'Cie do this? How in the world did we end up here?
How should I know?
Alright, pay attention. Hold on, pay attention to this cutscene, guys. Believe it or not, this cutscene is important for one point that I will make. What?
Serah saved us.
You know, knowing what we know
So
later.
you did survive the fall from before.
Hey. Watch out!
So yeah, they've all been. The Anima branded all of them. They're all LeCie now.
Which means each of them gets magical powers of some kind.
Yep.
Yep, basically.
Lightning already had magical powers.
No. In this universe, Deji, only LeCie can use magic. Even though 13.2 will take a dump on that.
Can we explain that there's a like a Magitech version that some of the soldiers tend to use, but Lightning used only the Gravcon unit, so that was literally it.
Oh, by the way, Dej, Lightning's weapon is actually a gun blade, believe it or not.
Okay,
cool.
so here's...
Is it just me, or did I
Hold
just
on, Libs, this is important.
So, the paradigm system. You can assign characters with the most effective roles for a given situation by changing your party's paradigm. Basically, now that our characters have magic, they have the job system, this game's version of the job system. You can switch between paradigms as often as you like, meaning you can continuously switch jobs.
Sometimes you can even take advantage of frames for that.
Yeah, you can you can change jobs in between in the middle of battle, kind of like 10.2, which was also directed by Toriyama. Each paradigm assigns specific roles to the members of your party. These roles define the spells and abilities available to a party member. There's a wide variety of paradigms to choose from. Offensive paradigms concentrate on dealing damage to enemies, while defensive paradigms focus on party protection and healing. It is very important to shift paradigms to suit your situation. What this basically boils down to: attack, and if your health is low, switch to a defensive paradigm until your health is back up again, and then switch back to the attacking paradigm. That's basically it.
Unfortunately, there comes with this a bit of a problem, though. You see those terms there, Commando, Ravager, and Ravager? If you're a Final Fantasy veteran who hasn't played this game, you're probably wondering, what the hell are these classes? Where's my warrior? Where's the thief? Where's the mage, or white mage, or red mage, and whatnot?
That's because that's because this game, for whatever reason, the localization team wanted sci-fi terms, and not.
Thought it would be
I can tell you, it's a problem even in the original Japanese. The original Japanese names also have names that do not reflect the classes that are supposed to represent.
Well, I will argue too that the Japanese names are still better. Where they
they are, but they're still not. So it's a thought process for the game itself, not just the localization.
I guess.
I see what Tio means. Even if it may not have shown as much in the Japanese version, it's still a problem spanning both versions. Like,
anyway, shifting to Solidarity.
Typical terms.
Shifting to Solidarity will cast Snow in the role of a Sentinel. What is a Sentinel? He's basically the tank. He can shield others from damage and with heightened defenses. Here's the basic gist of it. Lightning is using right now the Commando class, as in the fighter, or warrior if you prefer. Ravager is the black mage. Medic is the white mage. And that's basically it. I'll talk more about it after this cutscene.
That's mostly because what Pedro said applies for the early game. Later on, you will need the two supporting roles, as in Synergist and Saboteur, because otherwise
we'll get to it too.
The sacrifice will not be feasible.
Oh, goody, this cutscene.
Okay.
Oh, it's this.
Believe it or not, guys, this cutscene is actually really important for something that I'm going to say. But so let's go. Let's see. Hey, Dej. Hey, Dej, take a wild guess where...
Right here.
Of course it's there. Of course it's there.
Not just that. Dej, take a wild guess where Lightning's brand is.
On her chest.
On her chest. Because Toriyama's a creep.
It's actually not viewable in-game unless you actually take the file out. To the point where I have Rhea, gets the lightning costume in Parasite Eve, the third birthday, it can actually be torn up and you can see actually the brand.
Hope they barely said anything to you.
Oh god, here we go.
This is your and Serah's fault.
Watch it.
Again, why does everybody choose Snow to dump on? In fact, if anything, Hope, shouldn't you be the most mad at, like, at the very least, Vanille for manipulating you into coming here?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like I said, Hope never at any point calls Vanille out on her bullcrap, because if it were, Vanille is technically the at fault for Hope even being here.
Everything's gonna be alright.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. He's a teenage boy and he's a simp. So it's like,
Wait,
okay.
simp. Who's he a simp for?
Vanille.
That's the thing, Didge. Vanilla's not the
what's
one that
Paul says?
I don't know.
You were saying, Joe?
Didge, believe it or not, Vanilla's not the one that the franchise ships Hope with, like I mentioned before. Bafflingly, it is somebody else. Someone who is incredibly not fitting.
But yeah.
Shipped with Hope, but they shipped her with him.
But yeah, here's the idea. You can also customize your paradigm, all of the various paradigms. What the paradigms are is basically a collection of various schemes of stats that you can, of jobs that you can have. You can basically choose all of these and the things that you will switch in the fly. But continue what I was saying before. Commando is fighter, Ravager is black mage, Sentinel is tank, medic is white mage. We'll get more jobs like Theo said earlier, but we'll get to that. The primary idea is that you have to switch jobs in between combat depending on the situation. So that's basically it. Right now we have Lightning, Snow, and Vanille as our party. And yes, like I've said before, we cannot switch party members until like 30 hours in. So hope you like this party setup, because the game won't let you change it.
I love how the game literally taunts you with the other two party members as if you could swap them in and out. But you can't.
No, you cannot.
That's because mostly the game will actually introduce the way the characters actually can level up. Yes, believe it or not, until this point the characters actually were not allowed to level up.
Oh god,
that's a big tool. System. But anyway, to answer Pedro's question from way before, aside from Tetsuya Nomura as the main character designer, the closest I could find is the art director, which is Isamu Kamikokurio, or Kamikokurio, sorry for the pronunciation, which work on basically kind of like for this same kind of role for Final Fantasy X, 12 Revenant Wings, this 13 trilogy, Type 0 HD, and 15.
So if I understand correctly, we can assume that Nomura probably had a hand in designing most, if not everything, in this game.
The closest also we have is the storyboard director in Yoshinori Kanada, but there's that.
Okay.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Nomura designed these. Don't get me wrong, I love the guy's design for the most part. But, you know, let's not act like he hasn't done some weird and crazy design.
Oh, no, yes, plenty of them. That's not the question. I was just wondering who, like if there was somebody else aside from Nomura.
That's what I was wondering too.
But anyway,
it sounds like Nomura may be our man.
Because he offers instead of being even okay. The word to get to print down the fal'Cie. No enemies of Cocoon here. Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, you gotta love how Vanille says, "Don't worry, everything will be all right." You know, never mind the fact that we're all branded as l'Cie and could turn into zombies.
So yeah,
or crystals if we're lucky. So yeah, everything's gonna be all right. Now let's just go.
Is she a time traveler?
So yeah, to recap, Serah, before turning into Crystal, Serah asked us, and I quote, to save Cocoon. And that's why Snow thinks that's our focus. Because... Alright, and now cutscene, if I remember correctly. Yes.
Here we go. So yeah, this sucks.
Okay,
oh, here we go. Listen.
Focus,
this is it.
I think I saw it. Saw what?
That is how.
Hold on.
The fal'Cie, they don't spell it out with clear-cut instructions. All you get is a hazy glimpse. Well, that's what they say.
That's more foreshadowing, actually.
Did you see anything?
My mom dying.
I just... It's all kind of foggy, but I saw this big, towering...
What? Wait a minute. Hold on now. Do we all have the same dream?
Yes.
Ragnarok.
There you go, Dibs. That's what they
the name
saw.
of this music theme.
Alright, so, are we gonna see Kratos?
Sorry, Dedge. No.
Well,
Or
do we
Jim
go to
Goldberg.
space?
We're not so lucky.
At the very least, you're not
Game
mentioning Assassin's
preceded
Creed.
that.
We all heard that same voice.
You mean that was our focus? But how are we supposed to know what to do from that?
Beats the hell out of me, Hope.
Maybe the fal'Cie just really wants his dry cleaning done that way.
Figuring out what to do with it. That's our job.
You know, the sad thing is that honestly, it could literally be.
Hold on.
Right? Enemies a cocoon. So,
Oh, fuck.
does that mean that
Go ahead.
Are we supposed to say what? Our focus.
How many more times is that sentence gonna be said in this game?
Serah told us. Let's do it.
Serah didn't tell us squat. She turned into Crystal after smiling up at you.
She said
cried-
save Cocoon.
Yeah.
But Dibs, we're fal'Cie, enemies of Cocoon.
So that wouldn't make any sense now, would
Can't
it?
stay still.
But yeah, one thing, of course, that boy ain't right.
Alright, two things. You feel quick? Go ahead, then.
No, go ahead.
Okay, two things. One, Deji, Dwebs. Oh, Crystarium tutorial. Okay, Deji, Dwebs, are you guys familiar with skill trees in JRPGs?
Yeah, I bet.
Sort of.
Okay, that's what the Crystarium is. It's your skill tree. Here's the problem. Unlike most skill trees in JRPGs, there is no choices whatsoever. You cannot, pick which ones you want to develop first, which one, or pick a specific path that you want to take the character in, like you could in the Sphere Grid in Final Fantasy X. Instead, the game basically railroads your progress in the skill tree. I'm not even kidding you. There's the occasional branch that has like one more skill, but or bonus, but it's not like you have any reason not to take that as well. So you might as well take it, right?
Essentially, just like
That's
the
one of the key
gameplay,
problem of the game. Despite
everything is railroaded.
No, it's not even that. Despite the way your level up system is handled, again, like Pedro just said, even the fact that it's railroaded, the game doesn't never at any point let you feel like you're actually in some sort of advantage. Probably in order to keep the challenge going, to compensate probably for the automated stuff that happened, despite you grinding as much as you can and hitting the level cap that the game imposes you, because yes, that's one of the things, you unlock different tiers of level caps as the story progresses, so you cannot go too much high. Even when you're maxed out as best, you will never feel like you actually can, power play like you could do in any previous game, basically.
Or Rectail, in JRPGs in general, really.
Well, okay, I don't remember if all of them allow you to do that, but at least for the mainline Final Fantasy series, that was a key component basically since the first game. If I want to be stubborn enough to grind my ass out, I should be rewarded with the idea of me destroying the game from the inside out.
Yeah.
You cannot do that here.
Nope, because this game caps you. Since the game caps you at all, you can only the game only gives you a select amount of skills per chapter. Meaning, the game always makes sure that you're only as strong as the game will allow it. I can understand the idea of wanting to make sure you don't get over-leveled because the game will be easy. They want to make sure they control the difficulty so that the game will always be neither too hard nor too easy. But the problem is that, again, it's taking away way more player agency. You literally feel like you're being... This game doesn't feel like you're playing it. It feels like the game is playing you, basically.
Now I know what you guys are thinking. Is there any point in this game where we aren't railroaded? Well, the good news is there is. The bad news is that's like when we're at near the end of
the game.
3/4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3/4 of the game in, essentially.
In the meantime,
Until then, have fun with your hallways, have fun with your railroaded leveling, have fun with your level caps. Just try to have fun.
okay. Let me also bring up. Well, actually, no. I think I'll bring it up later. Go on, Jova.
Need to find a way out of here.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna be quite honest. At this point, it really just feels like somebody wanted to make a bet on how many hallways they could make out of the game. Like The leveling's a hallway, the gameplay way is a hallway here. You're literally going down hallways throughout most of this game. It truly is incredible how much this game got wrong. And yet Square dared to act shocked that this did not meet their sales expectations.
It's not even that, Jova. Remember, they tried to mention in interviews to justify their decision, which probably, I want to give at least some benefit of the doubt and say that the hallways ended what they did to
here we go.
incorporate their
Commando are offensive specialists employing brutal physical attacks and damaging magic as the tools of their trade. Enemy chain gauges drain less rapidly when charged by commando attacks than when charged by those of those rolls. Keep that in mind, because you have to make sure you use the commando to keep the chain gauge from lowering too fast. Ravagers wield powerful magic spells, dealing magic. They're the black mage, basically, combining different abilities and allows them to boost enemy chain bonuses, basically. Sentinel is the tank, basically defense specialist. They provide interference, drawing enemy aggression and towards themselves and using their enhanced defense to minimize damage to the party. Sentinels have access to the provoke ability. They're best used with medics, basically. The problem is that
go for a stall team.
That being said, there's a real problem that I have that I will bring up later. Yeah, medics are the healers capable of restoring. And by the way, here are the Japanese names that Teo talked about before. Here's what the actual Japanese names for the jobs are. Commando was actually fighter. Ravager was I think it was like
Actually, no. Let me check on the wiki. In the meantime, continue.
Well, I do remember that medic was healer. Medic in the original Japanese version.
Attacker for commando,
That's
blaster
it.
for ravager, defender for sentinel, jammer for saboteur, enhancer for synergist, and healer for medic. Very basic.
I feel like only the ones for the warrior and the white mage substitutes worked. Yeah, otherwise, all of the other ones sound
generic.
And even so, Java, again, their generic terms are be referring to the classes that, the series had. I can tell you this thought process, we can mention this now, leaked also into my country's localizations where they were called a bit extravagantly. But to finish quickly, God, I forgot what I was saying before. Fuck.
You wanted to mention something about the art you were looking up?
No, the art already mentioned, but whatever. One thing that I know that I can mention was the cutscene from before, the one where Saz explained, the party tried to do. One thing that Jova did mention also about the deconstruction is about the typical fantasy tropes, and one of them is this game tries to challenge the idea of a party getting together by showcasing a bunch of people that literally cannot actually synergize along and how they're basically forced to actually get along, which on paper is a nice idea, but as you will see, the execution is faulty. But at the very least, Saz brought up what the core theme of the game is supposed to be. Faith. The idea that in this world there is technically faith because the government, has stuff, and some legends are known to people, but other stuff is deliberately kept obscure. They cannot, they do not know specifics about it. They have to blindly follow what the government tells them to do about that. But in this case, where the characters are thrown into the situation that they don't know, they need to confront themselves with, the little informations that they have. So again, everything has interesting ideas and concepts that could easily work for a traditional Final Fantasy game, but unfortunately, due to the execution and now the gameplay also interferes with this.
I was going to bring that up later, but what you're saying brings up a good point. Go on, to finish that I can follow.
Simply put, that's one of the key things in how it actually tarnishes the product. Because even like what is mentioned also about the gameplay can also tarnish the basic core idea that it should work for any game. If I don't care about the story, I should be able to still play the game just by an arcade-esque kind of mentality and just keep in the cutscenes if I want. With this game, you're not gonna have that much fun. But I know what I also remembered as well, but go ahead, Pedro, in the meantime. Yeah,
notice what Teo just said. Good ideas, terrible execution. There's a reason for that. Unlike most other Final Fantasy games, Nojima wasn't the script writer for this game. All he did for this game was come up with the basic concepts, which explains why the concepts are good. Unfortunately, the script writing itself was done by a newcomer writer for the Final Fantasy series, Daisuke Watanabe, together with Toriyama. Basically, Toriyama created the characters and the overall proper storyline, and Watanabe was the one who wrote the proper screenplay. All Nojima did was come up with the basic concepts, and I think he also came up with the actual lore, right, too?
I think so, yes.
So which explains why the concepts are good, but the rest isn't. The execution isn't. But now, as for my points, here's the primary thing. Dibs, Dej, did you notice that cutscene that we just saw at the end, where the characters are talking? If we don't know our focus, how do we complete it? I wonder. All right, you guys might as well settle down and enjoy, because we're going to see the characters have that exact conversation over and over and over and over. I'm not kidding. Most of the conversations between the characters in like the first 2/3 of this game is basically the characters talking to each other. What's the plot? I don't know. What's the plot? I don't know.
I'm going to bed.
Second,
that should be one of the cutscenes. All the characters.
Don't touch that dial just yet, Dave, because merriment has only begun.
I have one more thing to say. Okay. Notice what happened. Well, actually, no. Go on to. We'll take turns. What were we going to say?
No, I can mention that in the next part at this point. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, keep that in mind for later. Now, notice what they just said later. Okay, we'll figure. Let's just keep going. So make a good mental note of what you just saw, because shit is going to hit the bed very, very soon. And yeah, if you thought this was the lowest point for the characters, it was
just the beginning.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So join us next time when the enemies of Cocoon fight the Lassie ice cream bar or something.
So yeah.